Caitlyn and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. So as you can tell by the title of today's video, this is actually going to be about IBS, which is a condition I have myself. And I generally just thought I would make this video because my last tonsillectomy advice video about my surgery, my battle with tonsillitis, etc. from my own personal experience done really well, and I still get comments to this day regarding, you know, questions people have or just general advice I can give them. And I honestly think if it helps one person, then it's totally worth it. And I generally just think that if you want to know a little bit more about it, if you want to be a little bit more educated on IBS, or if you are in the midst of being diagnosed, or you think that you may have it, or you just want some general advice about it, then this video will be for you and you will want to carry on watching. So I just wanted to quickly put out there as well before I get into the video that I am no way, shape or form a medical expert on this. This is all my own personal experience. I have obviously done my research and got advice from websites like the NHS, which I will leave in the down bar down below. But like I said, this is all my own personal experience, so take it as you wish. But don't, if you want a proper medical diagnosis or if you are curious about it, book an appointment with your GP. Also, I just want to say as well, if I keep looking down, it's because I actually have my laptop down here where I've wrote some general notes and I've done my research about this. So if I keep looking down, that's the only reason why. Yes, without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So you may be wondering what actually is IBS. So IBS stands for irritable bowel syndrome, which usually is a condition that affects the digestive system. And it's usually a lifelong problem, so there is actually no cure for it. So it can be very frustrating because it can have a big impact on your day-to-day depending how badly you have it. And the exact cause of it is actually unknown. So it can be down to things like food passing through your gut slowly or too fast. It could be to do with you have too many sensitive nerves in your gut. It can be to do with stress or actually family history as well. So you may be wondering, what is actually the symptoms of IBS? And the number one being stomach pains or cramps. This is usually worse after eating or better after you have basically opened your bowels and been to the toilet. You also have such things like bloating, which is where you feel massively bloated after you've ate. So sometimes with me, I have literally the smallest amount of food or literally the tiniest meal and I feel like I've ate like a 7-course dinner, for example, and like my stomach just massively bloats out. There's also two ways where you can go with IBS, one of them being diarrhea and the second one being constipation. So the diarrhea is obviously when you have a watery poo and sometimes you feel you suddenly need to run to the toilet basically. Or constipation is where you feel like you constantly can't go to the toilet, you can't open your bowels, or you feel that you have to constantly strain when you need the toilet. However, there are other symptoms as well which can be common with IBS, such as farting, passing mucus from your back end, tiredness and lack of energy, nausea, backache, problems peeing, so you feel like you constantly need to go to the toilet or you feel like you're not emptying your bladder enough, and not always being able to control when you need to go for a poo basically. So the next step is actually getting diagnosed. So from my own personal experience, ever since I was a baby, I used to have problems going to the toilet basically. And it wasn't until I got older I started going more regular, and then obviously when I got to, I think it was in my last year of sixth form when I probably got diagnosed, and we were having a lot going on in our family. My dad wasn't very well at the time, he was in and out of hospital. There was a lot of stress going on and I was obviously doing my A-levels, like everything was just a bit crazy at the time. So generally I had a lot going on which could have been the cause of it. But for quite a while I was having problems going to the toilet, and with my IBS I have the side where I get constipated. So for example, I could go about 5 days without opening my bowels, I could some days go without 7 days, or some days I could be going every single day. It literally just depends what my stomach's like at the time. I went back and forth to the pharmacy and they kept giving me laxatives, and I think it was the same with the GP as well, where I was constantly kept given laxatives just for me to open my bowels and have that sense of relief, because I was in a lot of pain and my stomach was very full. It didn't make me want to eat, and I was just in constant pain 24/7. I think as well, I went to the GP again with my mum, and I think my nan came as well, or if it was just my mum. And we basically like stressed to the doctor saying, you know, something needs to be done, this is not right, she can't keep taking laxatives all her life because my body's just going to keep getting used to them. And I think the more you take laxatives and the stronger they are, the worse impact it will have on you, because your body will just be reliant on them, your bowels will just be reliant on them. And I think as well, if you use them too much, your bowels almost like are contracting too much, and they can almost become, I'm trying to think of the word, like they can almost become quite complacent on them, and it's quite bad for them really. We went to the GP and she had a feel of my tummy to make sure there was no lumps and bumps. And a good tip for you to actually have as well when you go to the GP is to write down all of your symptoms you've experiencing, how long you've had them for, are they after certain foods, what symptoms are you getting the most, are they regular, is it every day, is it every few days, is it every week? And just keep a diary of your symptoms, and then when you go to the GP you can tell her all about them and you can show them to make sure you don't miss anything out. So before I actually went to the GP with my mum and my nan, when I was constantly going there and back to do with my stomach just to get some relief, they actually done some blood tests as well, and this was to test for celiac disease. This was kind of just to rule out any possibilities of it could be that or it could be something else, and this is kind of all the steps they do before they refer you on to someone else so they can kind of rule out everything. They didn't actually do this with me, but they might also do a poo sample as well. So this is basically like you do a urine sample, where you'd put a little bit of your poo in a jar. It sounds really gross, but this is to check for infections, inflammation, or of any signs of IBD, which is irritable bowel disease. However, I'm not going to go into that because this is not what this video is about. However, I will link all the information regarding that in the description box as well if you want to have a bit more of a read on that. And usually you will not need any further tests or be referred to the hospital if your GP thinks it's actually that. However, I think with the age I did actually get referred to the hospital. So yes, the GP actually referred me to the endoscopy clinic at the Freeman Hospital in Newcastle, which is where I live. And I basically went up and my mum and dad came with me, I think. And basically I had to have a colonoscopy, which sounds really scary, but it's not as bad as it was. So a colonoscopy is basically where you have a small tube and they have a tiny little camera on the end of it, and they basically insert it through your rectum and it will go up through your large bowel, and this is to check your colon and basically all inside your stomach. And it sounds so gross, like honestly when I talk about it now I'm a bit like oh my god, but basically that is what they do. And when I went, I was basically just in for the day, so you're just like a day patient. And I did actually get sedated because I was a bit funny with stuff like that. I've never had anything done like that before, so I was a bit nervous, so I said I will get sedated, which is basically not like a general anaesthetic where you're completely knocked out and you don't feel anything. Sedation is kind of basically where you're half conscious and you're half not. I didn't actually feel anything. The last thing I can remember from being in that room, I was lying on the bed, and it's so weird because you can see your gut on the computer screen, and it's so weird seeing like inside of you, and I was thinking like oh my god, that is actually like, that is inside of me sort of thing. But I remember literally just seeing that, and then I was literally out, and then I was in the recovery room, and that was literally all I remember. But they did actually tell me that I was in a bit of discomfort, like I kept moving, and I literally couldn't remember any of it, but apparently that's the state I was in. That I did have some inflammation inside of my gut, inside of my stomach, and I basically had IBS. And obviously it is a lot to take in at the time because you're not really, like, it's a bit of a shock. You're thinking oh my god, this is not curable, like I'm gonna have to live with this for the rest of my life. But it's not entirely bad. So like I said before, there's actually no treatment for IBS. However, you've got two types. So you've got your medical treatment and your self-care treatment. So with your self-care treatment, I've got some do's and don'ts here of what you should do and what you shouldn't do when you have IBS. So your number one would be to try cook homemade meals, including getting all your veg in and your fresh ingredients when you can. This is because it's much better for your stomach, such as like buying ready-made meals or takeaways and things like that is not very good for you. So try get your 5 a day and try make your homemade meals when you can. The next one is to keep a diary of any symptoms or any foods you think might set it off. Now, with me personally, one of my biggest ones that sets my stomach off and my IBS off is actually chocolate. And I really paid for this at Christmas just gone, because I mean we had so many sweets and chocolate and it's sometimes really hard to resist it, and I had quite a bad stomach over Christmas with it. I mean, you can't help it. I mean, can you? When the tubs of celebrations, heroes, quality streets, Thornton's chocolates are sitting on the table, like I'm really not going to resist them, am I? It's so weird when I explain it to people, because I was saying I can have chocolate flavoured things, so like chocolate cake, or I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head, like something with chocolate chips in, or you know, something like that, but I can't actually eat a chocolate bar or like chocolate buttons or basically just solid chocolate on its own. I find it really hard to digest, so chocolate is a no-no for me. Next two are to try find ways to relax and try get plenty of exercise. Exercise is really good for your stomach, and I've actually just started doing yoga on an evening now, and honestly it's really helpful and it's really good for your mind as well. So I would definitely try get as much exercise as you can and just try find ways of relaxing. So the next ones is the don'ts. So do not delay or skip meals. Now again, I massively paid for this over Christmas, and I try so far every single day this year I've been having my 3 meals a day. I always have breakfast because I'm always starving in the morning. I used to always skip lunch majority of the time when I'm at home, and it's really bad for you. So generally, even if you're not hungry, just have something small at lunchtime and make sure you are having them 3 meals a day, and you will really see the difference, and it will be so much better for you. Next one is do not eat too quickly. Now generally I've been really trying to do this one, and because I generally think when it was a Christmas time and I was massively suffering for it, I kind of sat at the dining room table every single meal I had, no phones, no digital, no technology around me, and really focused on my chewing and focused on the food I was eating, and kind of just really taking it in, really enjoying all the flavours and making sure it was getting digested properly, and I saw a massive difference since I've started doing that. The next one is do not eat lots of fatty, spicy or processed foods. Now again, this is bad for your stomach. I shouldn't really have to go much into this. As much as I love fatty and spicy foods, they are not good for my stomach, so I try and lay off them. I will have at least one takeaway a week, but you don't want to be having takeaways every day for your dinner or your lunch or whatever. And the next one is do not drink more than 3 cups of tea or coffee a day. Now I've been massively doing this, and I generally think, you know, I've been doing this ever since I got diagnosed. I will only have 3 cups of tea a day, and I've actually started having different types of teas, not just like English breakfast tea. So I've actually tried one from Twinings, and it's their Superfoods Digest one. I will leave a picture on here and a link in the down bar, and it's basically from Holland & Barrett's. And I also got one from there as well, and it is a sleep tea, and it is really good. It honestly knocked me out like a light last night. It was absolutely brilliant. So I generally think trying to have different types of tea and incorporating different foods into your diet is a really good shout as well. And the final one is to not drink lots of alcohol or fizzy drinks. Again, it's sort of like the acid and the fizziness. It's not really good for you, so I wouldn't really recommend it. What cramps you may have, I would definitely recommend eating oats. So this could be porridge every single day for your breakfast. Porridge is really good for your stomach. Oats in general is really good for your stomach, and when I was having that bad period over Christmas, I was having porridge every single day, and I noticed a massive difference. And I usually have porridge made with almond milk and chopped banana on top with some flaxseed, and honestly it was really tasty. It's really good. I would really recommend it. But yeah, I would definitely say porridge is definitely a good shout. You want to eat up to 1 tablespoon of linseed or flaxseed per day. These are really good for your stomach. You can buy them for Holland & Barrett. I will leave them in the down bar down below if you want to check them out. but yeah, they are really good for your stomach. You want to avoid foods that are hard to digest, such as cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, beans, onions and dried fruit. These are just because they are hard to digest. There is also medicines you can take if you are having cramps or bloating, such as Buscopan, and I take this myself if I'm having an upset stomach day or it's just not feeling it, and it does help and it eases it a bit. You can buy this in Boots or just over the counter. You don't have to have it prescribed from your doctor. If you have the diarrhea side of it, you really want to cut down on foods like whole grains such as brown bread, brown rice, and nuts and seeds. However, if you have the constipation side of it, you want to be starting to drink plenty of water to make your poo softer. You want to increase your soluble fibre, so eating foods like I said before, oats, pulses, carrots, peeled potatoes and linseeds. And as well, if you are still struggling with opening your bowels, if it's been a while, then you can obviously visit your pharmacy and they will recommend some laxatives you can take. So the worst one I've ever had, which I will leave on screen now because I can't remember the name, it begins with a D, and this is the only one that really works for me, and I hate when I have to take it because it honestly, it cripples me over in pain. It upsets my stomach that much that I have to lie down for most of the day because I literally cannot cope with it. I remember when I had my tonsils taken out, I had constipation very badly, and I remember the longest that I've ever not been to the toilet for was, I think it was 18 days. Was it 18 days? The longest I've ever not been to the toilet for, I think, was about 16 days, which is absolutely crazy, and I can't even begin to describe to you how painful it was. And once I took my laxative, I'd went to the toilet for 2 days straight, and it sounds so gross, but it generally it was absolutely crazy how bad my stomach was. My stomach was like literally out here, and I actually had to have a hot water bottle on my back most of the time because I was in so much back pain with it. Also, when I found out I got diagnosed with IBS after I had my colonoscopy, the hospital actually referred me to a dietitian in the hospital who I think I had 3 appointments with. And we basically talked through my diet. I kind of made a diary of the foods that were upsetting my stomach, foods that weren't, and kind of just my general 3 meals a day and the snacks I was having, the drinks I was having. And this generally really helped. And one tip I would give you, if you think a certain food is upsetting your stomach, you cannot cut that out completely. You have to have a sub alternative. So for example, I think with some of mine, my dietitian recommended I switch out some dairy products. So I think one of them was normal milk, so I actually drink almond milk now, unsweetened almond milk. And there was a few other bits as well, but you need to remember, if you are going to switch your food out because it doesn't agree with you, you need to put an alternative in as well. And there's so many products out there, you just need to do your research. The medical side of it as well would be to have a low FODMAP diet now. And this involves avoiding foods that cannot easily be broken down in your gut. And these are the following: fruit and vegetables, milk, and wheat products. Your GP can also prescribe you stronger medicines as well if you feel like the other ones are not helping. And as well, your GP can also send you to psychological therapies, which may actually help talking about your problems, talking about your symptoms, and this may generally help you feel better if you've been having it a very long time. So the first one would be, like I said before, to keep a diary of your food, your diet, and the symptoms you are having. This is really good because you can then work out what food is setting off your stomach problems, setting off your diarrhea, setting off your constipation, and it's just really helpful so you know to avoid that next time. The second one would be, which is something I've done at the end of last year, is to actually go online and find out what support groups are out there. Now, I'm actually in one on Facebook, and I think it's called the IBS Support Group UK. And honestly, they are such good groups filled with all the people who are sharing a similar condition to you. And it basically means that you have somewhere to talk to, people who would understand. And what I love is that if you have something on your mind, or you're thinking, oh my god, is this just me? Does anybody else have it? You can actually just write a post like you would on Facebook, pop it in the group, and it will make the form of a question, and just loads of people can answer it, be like, I asked one not long ago because I was experiencing anxiety, feeling very anxious, not wanting to go out when I had my flare up, and everyone was replying saying they were feeling the exact same way. And they also recommend, you know, food recommendations, maybe medication you could try, treatments you could try, and generally it's just a really, really nice supportive way to make sure you are okay and to also reassure you that you are not alone in this condition. Now my third one is it is okay to not be okay, and I generally live by this during this time with IBS because I think that there will be days where you are feeling so shit, or you're feeling in pain, or you literally just don't want to crawl out of bed, and it is okay to feel like that. It is okay to have a sofa day. It is okay to not want to do anything, to put off them chores, because it can be excruciating the pain you are in sometimes, but just a reminder that it is okay, and it's just a reminder to make you sure that you will not always feel like this. You will have better days than others, and it will all be okay, and it is manageable. So for example, if you are having a bad day with pain or bloating, try to use a hot water ball on my stomach or my lower back to ease the pain, and also as well to just gently massage your stomach, and that generally massively helps because it helps your poo flow down, if that makes sense. It helps that movement, but it also eases the pain as well, so I would definitely recommend trying that too. So that is the end of today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it and found it really useful or insightful. If you ever have had problems with IBS or struggling with IBS, or you're just curious about it, then please let me know in the comments down below. If you have any questions from my own personal experience or anything you'd want to know, any recommendations, then please just let me know down below. Like I said throughout this video, I've put loads of links in the description box. I will also leave a link up on here that the NHS have done, and it is a 30-minute video I think, and it covers all the topics around IBS, so similar stuff I've talked about but in more detail and from a medical point of view, and it's really worth checking out. I had a look at it over Christmas and it was really helpful, so if you are struggling with IBS, I would definitely recommend checking that out. And yes, as usual, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, comment down below, and also hit that big red subscribe button. We are 3 away from 400, which is absolutely crazy, like blows my mind to this day. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this, and as usual I will leave all my social media links down below, and yeah, I will see you next time. Bye.